How you doing, everyone? It's Joe from Living the Learn. Was out on a hike there yesterday. Some of you may have saw, and it was a nice day out up in Lochbray. It was nice to do something a little different. The weather in Ireland, as you can see, is a bit changeable. I have layers on me today. Yesterday was quite warm. Today it's a little bit chillier, so you kind of always have to reflect that, and especially in your kit. A couple of people got in touch, like Travis Sizemore and stuff, asking about what I carried in it on that hike, because I think it may confuse people having such a heavy pack going on a hike. But I'm running this pack for a while, and you know, when I go out I tend to just drive. I could go to a forest. We just hit up a random trail. But yesterday I had my ultralight loadout kit with me, so it was no problem doing a hike like that. The bag itself, with the contents, is probably about 8 pounds, which is, you know, I wasn't crossing hill and dale, so it wasn't too bad. Plus, to kind of touch on Toby's video during the week, when you're buying bushcraft kit and stuff like that, it's nice to have the wax canvas stuff, and as you can see from my bag, I love it too. But you can shop a bit smart when it comes to your kit, so you can still go out as light as possible, without having to spend dollars. You know, and that's the thing. Like when you start going down the ultralight road, when you start shaving grams and that, you're talking high-end money, but you can buy kit that kind of will transgress both. You can use it for bushcraft and courses and a bit of ultralight hiking as well. So we'll dive straight into it. I'm not going to talk about the bag itself, because I do have a full review on the bag in this month's issue of the Bushcraft Journal, issue 21. I think it's just being released, where I talk about the bag itself, not so much the contents that I carry in it. So here's the contents for those who are asking about the hike. Straight on the outside, I have I'm a man of talismans, so I just got some talismans on there. I got my L12 wooden patch. I have a medicine pouch that was made for me by Toby, which I absolutely love. I keep a few paste beads and stuff like that in there. 2 ultralight DD carabiners. You see them in every video, so I'm sure people are getting sick of seeing them now, but they weigh nothing at all. And like I said, this is a pretty light loadout. Straight off the bat, on the inside, I have my whoopee slings. Arguably not needed on a trail, but because they weigh nothing at all, I rather have them. It's a nice bit of cordage and can be used for slings and stuff like that, so I like to carry them. In the very top of the bag, I have straight on the top is my first aid pouch. I won't get into the contents of it, but it's a pretty basic first aid pouch, just some stuff for looking after blisters and the usual stuff like that on the trails. More plasters and alcoholic wipes than anything else, and some hemostatic stuff for my haemophilia. But that's sitting on the top of my bag. And a tip I learned from Andy and Will is to have one that's clearly marked. When I carried bushcraft loadouts before, I always had a wax canvas pouch or a leather pouch with some nice brass and stuff on it, but they raised the point that in an emergency situation, someone else could have to go to your bag and root around and try and find it. So I've now got this new clearly marked visible one if someone has to go to my bag and get it. Second in on the top is my Millbank bag. This is a great inexpensive kind of ultralight way of purifying water. The bushcraft, it's come to the fore over the past couple of years that there's the stereotypical bushcraft sediment filters that you see, where you use charcoal and sand and grass and everything else, actually can contaminate water more. Yeah, it will take heavy particulates out of it, and the charcoal may remove some coloration from it, like tannins and stuff, but because it has to pass across so many layers of dirt, and there's a Swedish institute, I might get Robin Tucker to drop in the research on that, but they've done extensive research, and now even some of the militaries around the world have stopped using it. Kind of because no matter what you do, whether you run it through a sediment filter or even sometimes through a soyer or whatever, you're going to boil it. Boiling should be always your means when it comes to purifying water. So if I have my gas stove with me, I don't really need to be building big sediment filters or jerry rigging some sort of bushcraft filters like that. So I tend to just bring a Millbank bag, because I'm going to boil it. And when you think about it, anything that you do when it comes to water, whether it's building this, that and the other, or stone boiling, the key word is boiling. So the Millbank bag is and it's nice and light. And it's just that if I have my gas cooker with me. Now, if I'm going on an extended period where I'm not going to be stopping for long times to boil water, I will carry a soyer with me instead. But for just something to have in an emergency, it's nice and light, is a Millbank bag. Removes the heavy sediment and you can boil it, and away you go. So that's why that is there. Also on the top is my compass. Whenever I tend to do trails, I'm not going to be, especially over here on a day hike out with my brother, I'm going to be sticking to well-marked trails, but it's always nice to practice. I'll take a reading from the car, I'll practice my line of sight bearings. Yesterday we circumnavigated a lake to a particular kind of cliff around the far side of the lake, so it was nice to be able to practice line of sight bearings and stuff like that. And a compass out on the trails is always nice. It's just because you're not in a forest anymore and you may be up in the mountains, the wild is still the wild, and Mother Nature will always find a way to put manners on you, so a compass is a nice one to carry. On the outside I have a Sharpie clipped. I don't carry a Sharpie for writing in my journal and stuff like that. I carry this again as a great tip from Will and Andy, but it's just if somebody gets into a spot of bother, either myself or maybe the people who I'm hiking with, a Sharpie marker is a great way to write on their arm when they went down, if they took medication. You can just keep notes. I actually seen this in action when there was a bit of a situation and Will and Andy had to step in and they took out their Sharpie markers and they were writing all over the place and keeping notes and stuff like that. So I have a Sharpie for first aid purposes more than anything else. Next out is my poncho, the Snowpack Patrol poncho. Needs no introduction, it's in an awful lot of my videos. But when you're carrying these canvas packs, like Mark and his Alpini pack yesterday, and maybe people are thinking about purchasing a Frost River bag and stuff like that, you can use the bucket method that you see Dave Canterbury use an awful lot of time, where you can cut down a waste paper bin and put it in. It gives you a bit of rigidity. But I just use material. So down the back of the pack, you can see the blue here. Here's my seat pad. I have my seat pad, and then I have some clothes and stuff you'll see. But then I put my poncho down the back, and it acts like a bit of a buffer, keeps the sharp things away from digging into you. But it's Ireland, and even on the nicest of days, it's always nice to have a poncho, which is especially up in the mountains where the weather is so changeable. I use it for sitting on and absolutely everything else. So that'll be the poncho. Weighs nothing at all, again, ultra light. Then down the back I have a wax canvas dry bag, because the Frost River pack isn't waterproof. Yeah, it's wax canvas, but it does have a very arguably low hydrostatic head, so in a bit of a downpour it will hold water if that hydrostatic head is there. So anything that you don't want to get wet, I'd recommend just keeping in kind of dry bags, or what you'll see I'll take out in a minute. So in here I just have some towels. I have a small little hand towel for cleaning my cutlery and stuff, and I have a bandana and a shamag just for if the weather changes or I need to cover up my head or stuff like that. Nice and light, not much to it. Then the next biggest thing out of the bag would be this. This is my signal pouch. This is made by Stephen Henley. It's 100% waterproof. Don't ask me if it floats with the amount of stuff I have in here, but it's got waterproof zips and stuff. Got a little pull cord on it that was made for me by Harry Vincent's brother at the UK camp. But I absolutely love this because it can be seen from space. You could argue that it could be a signalling device if you swing it around your head wildly. It's always nice when you're hiking trails or doing anything like that to have something bright orange, whether even a big bright orange shamag or a sleeping bag liner. Bright orange is always nice to have. But in here I keep stuff that I just don't want to get wet at all, and it sits nicely in the bottom of the bag, or I turn it on its side like today and I stack my clothes behind it like that. Now in this I have my Will Do camping box. Again, I'm not carrying bushcraft stuff up on the trail per se. This is a nice way to have a nice bit of meal, and in here I just have my titanium stove, my titanium spork, and then this is a great way I found. I can't remember who told me the tip, but somebody did tell it to me. Rather than carrying a bag of sugar or a bag of coffee or one of those horrible pre-made cappuccino things that are going around, I have this. This is just a little shrink pot. It could be something like a test tube or even any kind of lighter one, but in here I have an exact measure of 1 teaspoon of coffee and a couple of teaspoons of sugar. So it's nice and light, and I'm not carrying bags or sachets around with me. It's a nice little mix. I just pour it in the cup and away I go, because I know I'm only going to have 1 cup of tea on the trail, so I don't need to bring a heap of that kind of stuff with me. And that's all I have in there. If I'm bringing these Will Do boxes, will take like a half-size tin of beans, or you know, a bit of cereal and stuff if you want to put it in there. They're nice. They're very, very nice, and that in itself weighs nothing compared to wooden kind of variations of it. Like, I have a small little Possibles kit, which just has some matches in it, a lighter, a little signal mirror for, again, probably more first aid purposes than anything else. Just little bits and bobs, and I try and keep that as light as possible. But because I'm on a trail, I'm not carrying my hip pouch, which some of you may have seen in videos, which has all my fire starting stuff in it. I just carry something with a few matches and a lighter in it, and a few hexamine tablets for when I'm out there. I keep my gas. Again, these things will do an overnighter. People do be kind of a bit afraid of these small gases and will they last, but you can get an awful lot out of these, like 4 meals. And a great tip to kind of keep, it's not an exact measure, but a great tip to keep an eye on them is you can put them in your sink, and they will you can fill them up with water and they will start to float when they get to a certain level, and when they get to that level you can just draw a line. But when you're using gas, the only real thing to do is a bit of experience with it. I know out of one of these that I could get two overnighters cooking 3 meals a day and boiling water out of them, no problem. They're a nice one. A little weighty, but you could argue about hexamine tablets and stuff like that, but I prefer gas. I have my Eldris. This is nice and light. I used to carry a sack if I'm going to the forest. I'll carry a Victorinox in case I want to do some whittling or some carving. But on the trail yesterday, you could also argue that you don't need a knife full stop, you know what I mean, but I like to carry some bladed implement, and these with the belt loop, or you can remove the belt loop if you wish. Hold on a sec, see if I can pop it off. Way less than your stereotypical ALOX Swiss Army knife. At least they feel like they do anyway. So that would be my knife, something small, just a cut rope or cheesecake. This time of year I keep Factor 50 sunblock, more for my hand tattoos and underneath my eyes, just to keep that. I prefer to wear long sleeves anyway. It can be a bit breezy up on the hills. I have insect repellent for kids. It's a little less eating it. It's a bit more skin friendly. And I have relief spray. That's just left in there from an overnighter. That was on there. I keep cordage. People will argue that you don't really need cordage on the trails, and I would agree with that for 90% of the time. But I've been out on trails recently there in the Moor Adventure where we were hiking a trail and a guy's boot fell apart and Steve Armstrong fixed it with a bit of duct tape, and there was another guy whose lace snapped. So it's always nice just to have a bit of cordage. Does it need to be this much? No, but I like to have some on me. 5Cs and all that. Now, I always see a luxury item in people's that's that empty, and I'd agree with that. It's always nice to have something luxury on the trail. And what I have for my luxury item most of the time is this. It's just a wax canvas 2-roll my brother made for me a while back, and I haven't had a reason to use it because I wasn't the type of bushcrafter that would be up to those things. But as of lately I've changed, and in it I just have my auger bit, I have a ruler, I have my slide knife. Again, not overweight kind of stuff, and it packs up small, and it's just nice to have just in case you come across a piece of wood that you want to whittle on. And I'm going to throw a few spoon blanks in there from Colley's Craft Camp hopefully, and I'll be able to whittle away and do a bit of carving on the trail. That's it for the inside of the bag, bar my sit pad, which everybody would know what a sit pad is. On the outside of the pack I have my gloves, because the Frost River has these flow through pockets on the back. I've got 4 ultralight tent stakes, because maybe some of you again who've seen the photos yesterday, the wilderness up around Wicklow and stuff can be pretty barren. You're not going to be finding trees and twigs and stuff like that. So just so I can stake down my poncho, yesterday we used it to stake out Mark's wool blanket so we could sit on it using the stone and string method. So it's always nice to have them. You can get really ultralight ones, but the ABS ones are absolutely fine for me. I got my gloves there just because it's nice to have gloves. This side I have some alcohol wipes just so they're easily accessed for cleaning my hands and stuff like that. And in these pockets, from my hydration video, you see that I have 2 1-litre wide mouth Nalgene bottles, and then sitting down over here, I'll actually take them out. There you go, Toby, I found it. Sitting down here, I have my titanium cup for my coffee, and on this side I have my cooking pot, which Toby raised in this video, and Carl Higgins, shout out to Carl, has started using it recently. This is the standard Pathfinder kind of 700 ml stainless steel pot. It's always nice to have some stainless on you. Titanium I find can get a bit hot spotty and stuff, but it seems to be a bit of a fear factor, like with the gas. For one person, you can get quite an awful lot into this when it comes to cooking. You can boil a whole tin of beans, 3 or 4 sausages. If you want to make yourself up a mix, mash, soup. One person can eat out of something like this very well, and that's why I carry the 2. Most of the time, I will have my stainless steel bottle and the rest like that. So I got a nice clean cup for my coffee that I don't have to pick pasta out of, and beans and clean all the time. So that is what I'd carry. So there you go. That is my ultralight hiking loadout. If ever I'm going out on a hike up around Wicklow, just because it's unknown trails. I've done the Lochbrae Trail now with Mark, so maybe the next time I head out, I would possibly leave some of this stuff at home, because I'm aware of the environment I'm heading into. It's always nice when you're to have a kit kind of set up that if you hit a bit of bad times, a decent first aid pouch, a compass, something to signal with, and plenty of water, and you should be good to go. And make sure to tell somebody where you're going. Before we left the house yesterday, I told my wife and I told my mother where we were heading to, and what time we were expected to be back at. There are always some great tips to tell when they're going. So that's it. If you have any questions, or you're like with Toby's loadout, I'd love to see you guys loadout as well. Stay safe on the trails and enjoy the good weather. Joe from Limit